All right. Hey, team. It is Monday night, September 24th. We're coming to the end of September. And so thanks for all you guys that you're doing to help other people. And thanks for getting on tonight's call. I was shared a little bit from my heart the other night. I don't know if you saw the other day, about a week ago on a Facebook Live in our group, just talking about emotions. And this business can be a little bit emotional. There's just highs, there's lows. For most of us, we're doing something completely different. Something completely different. We're entrepreneurs, we're assisting, we're helping other people, and it's just a different world. And the feelings we experience are probably no different than any other entrepreneur, but they can be very unsettling for us. I mean, when it's great, but when you're not feeling good, it's not so fun. And I've certainly been there after coaching for 7 years. I will share later some of my highs and lows, and some of the lows were not pretty at all. So I'll share a little bit about that and have some people to also share with us. And I still don't see Lisa. Oh, there's Lisa Edwards. Lisa, I thought I might kick off with you. Maybe just have you share kind of your journey with Optavia, where your highs and lows and where you've come and gone and come back. Up, you're muted.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was having trouble with my laptop. So, of course, I've used the phone doing this. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, those of you that don't know my story, I was a health coach before coming to Optavia back in October of last year. And so I came into it excited about it, but a little hesitant. And one of the big stumbling blocks that I've had along the way is just making a decision to whether I'm going to be a health coach with Optavia, or am I going to be a certified trainer? Am I going to do health coach with functional medicine? There's so many different options out there that one of the big problems that I've had is I've been chasing a lot of squirrels. One of the big things that I could recommend to everybody is just, make your decision of what you want to do. Make sure you understand what your why is and why it's important to you. And just to share with you this summer, and a great example of what I did was I decided that I was going to work with a chiropractor who had a weight loss business as well. And I thought, well, this will be a great way for me to help coach more people in the weight loss arena. And I learned really quickly that there is no program out there better than what we offer. So after about 3 months, I made the decision after, looking at what he offered, I couldn't stand behind it, and made the decision that I was going to leave working with the chiropractor and focus. I finally made the decision to dedicate my time to my business. So the past year, because it's coming up on a year, has been really bumpy. I've second guessed myself. It's interesting looking at the comments that some of the coaches made to this meeting, and a lot of the same things that have gone through your head has gone through mine too. Can I support it? Does it work as well as I think it does? Can people afford it? All those things. And what I've learned at the end of the day is it's been my own self that's been in the way, going into it with preconceived notions. And what's really helped me is staying connected with Dee, because she's been really patient with me through this entire process, and kind of letting me learn on my own and come to my own decisions and not pressuring me. And I've come full circle back around. So pick back up with meeting with her on a weekly basis, getting that mentorship, trying to get more involved with the boot camp trainings and the weekly trainings, just like this one, and just stay connected with the community and reach out to other coaches, because the big lesson is we're all going through the same thing. We're just all at different points in our journey, and there's so much to learn from each other. Zena's been a great help. Julie's been a great help, and Dee as well. So if you think you're alone, feeling, scared of putting yourself out there, just know that we're all going through it. And that's the best advice I can share.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. And Lisa lived in the Atlanta area. We met, I think you attended maybe one of our group events, and then now she's moved to a part of North Carolina where there are no other coaches. And I know there's a lot of us on the line that are like that. We kind of feel like we're alone, and maybe it'd be different if we were somewhere else. But I mean, have you really found it to be much different in terms of how you show up for people and
Actually, I think it has helped me because, you know, because I've moved to a new area, I've made a conscious effort to connect with people here locally in the community, because to get involved, to meet new friends. And because of that, I feel like I've put myself out there more, and I'm sharing more about what I do, because now people are saying, oh, okay, what do you do for a living? And, you know, I share with them up front, this is what I do. And, you know, I always ask, are you on Facebook? And just try to connect that way. And it's actually been a lot easier than when I was in Atlanta.
okay, that's good to know. So you said something really pivotal. There was something I was going to cover towards the end, but we might as well hop right into it. So it sounded to me, if I heard you correctly, that you had some doubts. You had some doubts around the program. Was this what you really wanted to fully represent? Did it work? Was it, you know, how attached you were to it? But then you used the phrase, you made the decision. And, you know, I get personal coaching myself, and I've learned that there's a lot of power when we make a decision to do something. You know, we've always heard, and we know with our clients, well, I'm going to try, or we'll see if it works out. Like, we just know that's not, you know, there's no solid foundation there, but there is power when we make a decision. Because once we make a decision, like we put our stake in the ground, this is what I'm representing. You know, you cannot, you know, blow me over in terms of what the quality of this program is. And this is what I will achieve as an individual coach, what I want, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, it really comes down to what we want. We help people to get to what we want, but we have to have that decision in mind. So tell me how you showed up and how your actions were different before you made your decision and then after you made your decision. And has it been easier or harder in either side?
One of the biggest things that I reflect back on when I consciously made that decision to commit to my business in Optavia, that in and of itself gave me confidence. Just the fact that I had made the decision and that I knew I wasn't chasing the squirrels and, you know, had all these options. This is what I want to do. And it has helped me be more confident approaching people and sharing with people, and not prejudging by looking at someone thinking, they're not going to be able to afford it, or they're not going to be interested. You know, even if they aren't interested the first time, I'm okay. Before, I was taking it personal. I felt like I had to not necessarily make a sell, but I had to get somebody on the phone. And now I go into it as, it's okay if I don't, because what I've learned over the past year is 9 times out of 10, that person's going to come back. It may be 3 months before I hear from them. You know, a great example is someone I had connected with the Planet Fitness group back in like 4 months ago, and she wasn't ready. She quickly told me on Messenger she wasn't ready. And then like 3 months later, I get a text from her on Messenger at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And all it said was, I'm ready. And the main reason she said she came back to me is because I didn't pressure her, but I stayed in touch. So I feel like I'm more confident in doing that and not doubting my skills and my connections when they turn me down, because they'll come back.
Yeah, there's definitely a different energy around it. And when we just become more of, we're just seeking who's ready, you know, if they're not ready now, no problem. Who's next, you know? And I think there's a different energy around that. And when people see that and feel that, then when they are ready, they'll come to us. But if we lose so much, I mean, think about how much energy we waste when we get upset because somebody says no. Because exactly what you said, or, you know, that we take it personal, or maybe there's something wrong with the program, or maybe we shouldn't be using fuel lanes, like whatever the nonsense that gets going in the head, we can waste so much energy in that versus if we just stayed focused on what was true and what we know does work, and just realized that wasn't the right person, or it's just not their time.
And I think the two big things that come up with me from people that I talk to is either the soy or the processed food. I don't eat processed food. So, in order for me to feel confident about that, I went back and read all the postings, all the research and everything. So I had a confidence in my reply back and not hesitate in my response. Because I think when people sense that you hesitate, it was like, oh, well, maybe it's not good, it's kind of back off from what they're asking you. They pick up on that, and then it almost validates what they're saying. And I think, overall, I've become more confident in sharing and presenting myself.
Yeah, well, I think it becomes a big difference. I think Allison and I have been having a question about, so we were having a discussion about soy, and she had started to think about, wow, this is going to be a problem. And then when I shared some information with her, and it really was, I'm not looking to convince, I'm just sharing some facts here of what we know. Allison, you shifted, right? Like you got it, and it wasn't a big deal anymore. So raise your hand if you would like us to post that information on soy and or the processed food. Okay, so we'll put that in our coach group. So thanks for bringing that up. So let me just write myself a note. Yeah, and again, I think it was a really good point, is that we're not looking to convince, but just share information of what we know is true. So, okay, well, I'm going to move on a little bit. I have some slides just because it helps me keep my thoughts on track. And sometimes some people, if you're like me, you're more of a visual learner. So I like to do that. And then we're going to come back and we're going to have Lori Cole share with us as well. But I love this topic of being the emotional roller coaster. Hold on, I'm trying to do my slideshow. And I love this picture because I think it really represents, I don't know about you, but this can happen to me on a given day. It can happen in an hour, like, yay, things are great. Oh, so-and-so just canceled. Like, oh, a new client, you can, it can be like this on any given day. I think really what the message I want to try to help you with, and realize that this is something we grow into, is this is a pretty steep roller coaster, right? If I was at the amusement park, I'd be a little bit scared to get on there because there's some big highs and lows in this. But what can happen is we start to become more aware of our emotions and create a different response to them. I like to call it the baby roller coaster. It's not that we're not going to feel these things, but the swings and the impact will not be as big, and then it therefore won't have the biggest impact. And when I say impact, usually it's the lows that drag us way down, and it can be really hard to dig ourselves back up, to get into action and to get into momentum. And what we want to do is feel it, because they're real feelings, acknowledge it, but then be able to move forward. And we'll talk about some tools to be able to help with that. So, I guess the question would be, where are you right now? A lot of us are really happy. Our business is growing. We're helping a lot of people. We feel connected. We're participating in things. We feel very connected to our community. Fulfillment, we all love that joy of getting a text from somebody, or today is a great day in Eat, Live, and Be Optavia, when all those people are responding about how great their results are on the program. And maybe you're excited. Maybe you're moving towards the next level and you're getting close, and maybe you're excited about what can really be created with Optavia. Or you could be on the flip side. You could be on the downside of that roller coaster. You might be feeling kind of stressed. Maybe you're not sure if you will reach your goal that you set for the month. We can get overwhelmed by things. It can just seem like a lot, and we're trying to, especially if you work another job or you do something else, it can seem like you're juggling a lot of plates in the air. Disappointment is a big one. Disappointment when, as Lisa said, when somebody says no, or they don't even want to have a conversation about it. We know this is the best thing ever, but why won't they get it? Or they cancel, or they postpone, or they lose 15 pounds and say, well, this is great. I'm going to take what I learned and do it on my own now. We've all been there. It happens regularly to all of us. So normal with that. There can be fear. I think this is a big one. Fear of, what do people think? How will I come across to people? Will I be able to say the right things? Do I know enough? You know, so we, out of fear, we hold back, and fear can be paralyzing. Fear has paralyzed me a few times. When it was really time for me to stretch and grow into my next level, I would often let fear, I'd go into paralysis and often even regress as a result of it. And a big thing that I would do is it's funny that I'm talking about emotions, because I think probably one of the biggest challenges I'm working and growing through is actually talking about my feelings with people. And so very often I would be stressed or I'd be overwhelmed, but to me, I would get a little embarrassed by that. Like, maybe I'm not supposed to be feeling this. And I would shut down, not talk to my coach, you know, everything's fine, you know, I'm good for that, the fine, but yet be kind of cracking on the inside. And when those wheels get turning and those voices start talking to you in your head, it's a really slippery slope. So Lisa had indicated she she and I are connected. She's connected to other people on our team. So I highly encourage that. And I think the same applies to feeling maybe insecure or possibly inadequate, you know, and if somebody cancels or falls off the program, sometimes we can take that personally, that maybe we didn't do, like maybe there was something we could have said, like maybe, you know, something could have happened. So I think I started then thinking, you know, where do these feelings come from? You know, we know the scenarios, the kind of the ones, the things I talked about, but where does the actual emotion come from? And I mean, blink at me if you've ever gotten a little discouraged, maybe because business was moving quicker than yours. That's a big one, right? If we compare to others. And I've done, probably, and you can look in our history, I've done a training on comparison. And one of the things I've learned about comparison is it does one of two things. If we get into the comparison game, we're either going to experience pride, because look at me, I'm doing a lot better than everybody else, you know, or whatever. Or more frequently, what happens is we feel discouragement, because we feel like, okay, there's something wrong with me, or they've got something I don't have, or we'll have excuses or blame. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But the whole comparison, and usually what we're comparing to is it's some superstar that is not the norm, the epiphany, you know, in Optavia, but we can really, really let it get us down. And then some of the stuff that has been brought up already, and this was brought up by Pat Daniel on our page, was, you know, things can spook us. You know, things can spook us. We can have our own experience with the program and know it works. But if somebody says something to us or challenges us, or we get a couple no's, it can be really, I call it like the boo, like boo. And then like we get spooked and we're like, oh, well, you know, and we stop showing up as boldly with it. And this happened to me at one point. You know, when I first started coaching, I had a little bit of concepts around the fuelings. There was a part of me that questioned, did we really need them? What would people think, etc. And then over time, I just saw it time and time and time again that the fuelings were the magic, right? The structure, the science of the program. So then my stake was in the ground. I was like Lisa, my stake was in the ground. I was, you know, unstoppable, business growing rapidly. And then I hit a like a wall, and I had like 4 or 5 people say no to me for the quote processed food thing, soy. And I got in my head big time around it. And it was crazy, because here I knew it worked, but then I'd find myself, when I would get to that point of doing a share with somebody, I was starting to trip over my words, and I wasn't as confident, and I wasn't speaking about it how I used to speak about it. Well, what happens then? It was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then like, whoa, then more people are not doing it because of that. And I remember, and I think it was Lisa Bloom that said in the comments, that sometimes it's just a comment or a text from somebody can completely change your mood. And I had like 3 scenarios in a row where people were thanking me and saying like how great the program was. They couldn't have done it without the convenience and structure. They had tried everything. Like, it was just that reinforcement. It was my wake-up call. And when I got my head back on straight, I was like, okay, I you know, it is the fuelings, they're fine. And it became a non-issue again. So if you find yourself getting tripped up around maybe the program effectiveness, like, is this the real deal, right? Like, or, you know, the fuelings, anything about the fuelings, the cost of the program, and or your ability to share the business side of it, that's just a perfect opportunity to work a little closer with your health coach, and work through that with them to find out what's really going on and see if we can give you some tips or maybe be on some calls with you or something, some strategies to be able to move past it. Because these are things, when it comes to our business, it's usually a skill, an action, or a concept that holds us back. And I generally find it's the concepts are the biggest ones that can do the big hold us back for the longest time. So so emotional intelligence is what I was talking about. Is there's something called the observer's chair. There's a great book by Dave Blanchard called The Observer's Chair. But when we can start to become more in tune with what we're feeling and be able to put a name to it, we start to take the power away from it. There's a lot that goes on in our subconscious, and very often we don't even realize it's going on. There can be feelings of overwhelm or feelings of inadequacy. And if we can't name it, it starts to gain power in our brain, and we don't even realize that it's happening. So emotional intelligence is really just the ability to identify your own emotions and those of others, and then to be able to self-motivate yourself. And that's how we kind of start to create that baby roller coaster. And my particular situation with this is I can, it stems from some things in my childhood and whatever, but I struggle with feelings of inadequacy, feelings of self-worth, and am I good enough, and do I really know what I'm doing, and that sort of thing. And I can be on a roll and be doing good, but things can set me back. And sometimes I might be at a large event, at convention or something, and I'll think like I'm doing great, and then I'll hear about somebody else's business, right? There's that comparison thing, and I can shrink into insignificance, like insecurities, like, do I really know what I'm doing? Or maybe I like, is this real? Like, I don't know. And so, but what's been interesting is now that I've become aware of it, I can identify it, and I can say like, that's weird. There's that feeling of inadequacy again. But then now I've named it, so it doesn't have as much power over me, and I can start to regain perspective of where I am, what I do have, the skills I have, and it stops being as powerful over me. I've had, we have a big thing called leadership. There's a leadership conference at Sundance. It's the top leaders of the company. And the first couple of times I was there, full out breakdown on Sunday afternoon after it was all said and done, because I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do what they do. And so just letting those voices talk, but then being able to work with my coaches and with my husband and whatnot, being able to work through it, it doesn't happen as much anymore, just because I realize where I'm going and what those voices are saying to me. So there's two quick things I wanted to review, and I want to have Lori talk. They're habits of transformational leadership, and we may need to come back to this because I want to make sure we can give it enough time. But these are leadership principles that the company has, and there's 6 different ones, but one of them is the one on the left. It's called we take responsibility and we play above the line. And the other one is we seek growth and we embrace obstacles. So these challenges, we embrace them as the way. That if we can start to work through these challenges, that is our answer to whatever is going on. So staying above the line, all right, and I actually think I will spend some more time on this on another call. Imagine drawing yourself an imaginary line. And when you have a struggle or an issue or one of these moments, there's 2 ways we can approach it. And one is being what we call being above the line. And although this is a leadership principle, remember this, you are the leader of yourself, right? It starts with us. So that's why this is important to learn. If we're above the line, we are open, we're curious, we're coachable. We're going to talk to our coach about it, what's going on? I'm not sure what's happening here. And we're committed to learning and improving and figuring out what the challenge is. More often than not, we go below the line. And below the line is where we're more closed, defensive. That's where excuses come in. Oh, well, she's a personal trainer. She gets all those clients from her business, whatever we might think and try to rationalize. We think we're right. Oh, I'm doing everything. Well, we're really not, or we blame situations or struggles, or we're busy, etc. And so these are things that are good things to ask yourself. How you start to self-check is, am I above the line or below the line? So I want to stop there because I want to be off for Dr. A's call, but I want to let Lori Cole speak. Lori, maybe you could unmute yourself. Because Lori, you've really had a beautiful journey with Optavia, not really coaching that long, but you've certainly had highs and lows. So, but I really love your approach to it all. So if you could share with us.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, I started with Optavia about 1.5 years ago, and I jumped in pretty quickly. I'm a leader by nature, and it made sense to me, especially when people started noticing the change that I had. In addition to my weight, my hair looked great. It was growing like gangbusters. My skin, the own program flow. And so I started coaching pretty quickly. And boy, my first couple of clients were challenging. And I was like, if this is it's about, I'm not sure that this is for me. And I just kept pressing into D, and I kept listening to calls and just deciding that I believed in what we were doing. And I think that in the moments where things don't feel easy, then you have to, just like we teach our clients to go back to their why, you have to go back to your why, because we believe in what we're doing and it's important and we're making a difference. And there were times I would listen to Dee, and she's so well versed, and I just love hearing her speak. And I thought, I can never be like that. And you know what? We can't, because Dee's called to her journey and I'm called to my journey. And you would probably agree with me that we're not salespeople, but we live out this optimal health journey. And it is what it is, and it needs to feel organic to each of us. It can't be a forced thing, or we're always performing for the wrong reasons. And I think that when I get my target off, so to speak, when I focus on making a rank, or I focus on a particular goal, that's when I lose sight of the relationships that I'm cultivating. And I think that that's the key. I think my relationship with Dee has caused me to hang in there and motivate. And she motivates me when I feel like it just isn't working, or I've had 2 clients cancel. And I think refocusing, what is our purpose? So let's focus on the clients we do have. Let's don't lose touch with the ones that go, because they may or may not come back, but relationships are still most important. But let's also focus on the things that we have. And just a couple of things that I'm focusing on. My goal this week is to go back to my newsletters, and I have a lot of people on my newsletter list, and I went through and kind of examine who was opening, who is reading those. And this week, I'm shooting a text to the people who are opening my newsletter that aren't on program. Hey, I just wanted to let you know there's a great recipe in there. Let's chat. Or my friend Zena, and congratulations, Zena, is highlighted. And I would so love for you to check it out. It's a great story. And I think in cultivating those relationships with the people that we already have had conversations with, then I think we're going to see the growth. And the growth can't be forced. I just think it's so organic, and it needs to be, because we're accountable to ourselves and because we believe in what we're doing, that I think that that's where the true success lies, in knowing what you're doing is worth it. The other thing I was going to add to what Dee said is the comparison game. I'm so good at that. I'm such a competitor, and I'm sure that you can relate to that, some of you too. But comparison really does steal our joy. When we're looking around, we just need to be true to who we are, and we need to just stand firm in that and just decide that we're not going to compare ourselves, because everyone else's journey doesn't look like ours. They're not called to it. So through the hard times, I've seen some pretty big hills and some pretty deep valleys. And the one thing that I can tell you is, if we continue on living our journey, I truly believe that our success follows it. And it looks different for each of us. But I just encourage you to press into the community. I know that there have been times when I said, and everyone's hard is still hard. So if I said, here's my year, and you would go, cool, that's a lot of stuff. And you would probably say that, but your heart is hard too. And it's life, and how we walk through it with our clients, I think, can demonstrate a grace that they may not see anywhere else. And I think that's so important. And I just had a client that I think she called to quit tonight, and we're into accountability calls again. So I really don't know how that happened, except for I just loved her where she was. So I just want to encourage you guys, I work full time. I'm a middle school teacher and I'm a fitness instructor. And it's just, I've gotten so many clients from just living and being true to what I think this program is, and being true to relationships. So that would be my one piece of advice, is just to stand firm and stand true to yourself, and don't look around. Just be accountable to you.
Awesome. Awesome. That was beautifully said, Lori. Thank you so much. I mean, there were quite a bit of nuggets in there about staying connected to the community, the trainings, staying true to ourselves. I think that's a big thing, is when sometimes I would listen to the trainings and think, well, I want to be able to say it like, Doug Wood's wife says it, but I can't. I got to say it the way I say it. And I remember Debbie Pasco. Remember, Debbie, you had said to me, like, oh, one day I'll talk like you. And I said, no, you won't. You'll talk like Debbie with a little more experience, So each one of us has a gift and a way to connect to people that no one else on this call has. And so we want to tap into our own personal gifts and then use this gift of Optavia. And if we can always stay focused on that and how we can serve others, take those eyes off ourselves and put them outward, and how can we shine a light out to others, it's just going to be so much better for everyone. So thanks, you guys, for tuning in. I want to let you go so you can hop over to Dr. A's call, and we'll see you next week. Meg Johnson is going to lead the call for us next week, and Julie Apple is going to lead the call after that following week. So you guys are in for a real treat, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks so much.